Tom wiped the sweat off his forehead as he stepped onto the dusty plains of Viraxia. The twin suns burned high in the sky, casting long shadows over the Xilari warriors who stood in a circle, watching him with silent suspicion. Their leader, Commander Jenna, stood at the front, her tall frame covered in dark armor, her violet eyes filled with challenge. Behind her, the real threat lay, a war dragon. The creature was massive, at least 4 times Tom's size. Its scales shimmered like molten steel, its golden eyes burning with wild fury. Sharp black horns curled back from its skull, and its wings, when fully spread, could block out the sun. The ground trembled each time it exhaled, smoke rising from its nostrils. Tom exhaled slowly. He was supposed to be observing Xilari culture, not stepping into their war games. "You are brave, human," Jenna said, her voice sharp as a blade. "Or foolish." Tom shrugged, his hands resting on his belt. "Not the first time I've heard that." The Xilari warriors smirked at his words, but their amusement was short-lived. Jenna raised a hand, and silence fell. "This is Carvos, my war dragon. He bows to no one but me. He follows no command but mine." She narrowed her eyes. "Yet you stand before him with no fear. Do you believe yourself stronger than us?" Tom glanced at the dragon, then back at Jenna. "Nope, but I do know animals." A ripple of laughter spread through the warriors. They did not believe him. To them, dragons were not mere animals. They were powerful beasts, trained from birth to serve only the strongest of Xilari. They would never listen to an outsider. Jenna smirked. "Very well. If you believe you understand dragons, then go ahead. Approach him." The laughter died instantly. No one expected her to allow this. The warriors looked between Tom and the dragon, waiting for the inevitable disaster. Surely, the beast would strike him down in seconds. Tom didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, slowly, carefully. The dragon lifted its head, watching him with burning golden eyes. The air grew heavy. The only sound was the wind sweeping across the plains. 1 step. The dragon's nostrils flared. 2 steps. A deep rumble rolled from its throat. 3 steps. The Xilari warriors braced themselves, ready to watch the human be crushed or burned alive. But then, something impossible happened. The dragon stopped growling. Its golden eyes studied Tom, curious rather than aggressive. It sniffed the air, then lowered its massive head slightly. Tom grinned. "There we go, buddy," he said softly, his voice calm and steady. "You're not so scary." The warriors gasped. Jenna's hands clenched into fists. This should not be happening. Carvos, her war dragon, the fiercest beast in the Xilari army, was not attacking. Instead, the creature leaned closer, letting out a low, almost questioning growl. Tom chuckled. "Yeah, I get it. You're the big boss here." Slowly, he reached out his hand. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The warriors stiffened. And then, Carvos let him touch its snout. Silence. A deep, rumbling purr echoed from the dragon's chest. Jenna's eyes widened. She had never heard Carvos purr before. The warriors whispered among themselves, some backing away in disbelief. This was impossible. A human, a weak, small outsider, had tamed a war dragon with nothing but his presence. Tom scratched the dragon's snout as if it were a giant dog. "You're not so bad, huh?" Carvos rumbled again, its massive wings shifting slightly. Jenna took a step forward, her voice sharp. "What did you do?" Tom turned, giving her a casual shrug. "Nothing special. Just said hello the right way." The Xilari warriors stared at him as if he had just shattered their entire belief system. Jenna clenched her jaw, her heart pounding. This was wrong. No human, no outsider, should have this kind of power. Her dragon was hers. It had taken years of training, discipline, and strength to control Carvos. And yet, this human had done it in seconds. Her voice was cold as steel. "You will explain this," she ordered. Tom grinned. "Sure, but you might not like the answer." Jenna's eyes burned with fury and curiosity. She would find out the truth, no matter what it took. Jenna stood frozen, her sharp eyes locked onto Tom. The air around them was heavy with tension. The auxiliary warriors remained silent, their gazes shifting between their commander and the human who had just done the impossible. Carvos, the fiercest war dragon in the auxiliary army, was calm under Tom's touch. Not only calm, but purring like a contented beast. Jenna's hands clenched into fists. This human was no warrior. He had no auxiliary training, no battle scars, no bond ritual with the dragons. And yet, Carvos treated him as an equal. How? Tom noticed the warriors whispering among themselves. He sighed and took a step back from the dragon. "All right, I think I just broke some big rule, huh?" Jenna's voice was sharp. "You did more than that." She took a step forward, standing face to face with Tom. He had to look up slightly to meet her gaze. Auxiliary were naturally taller than humans, but he didn't flinch. "You claim to know animals," Jenna said. "Then prove it." Tom raised an eyebrow. "I thought I just did." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the warriors, but Jenna was not amused. "That was a trick. A test. Now you will face a real challenge." Tom sighed. He had a feeling she wouldn't just let this go. "All right. What kind of challenge?" A smirk played at the corner of Jenna's lips. She turned and pointed at Carvos. "Ride him." The warriors gasped. Tom blinked. What?" "If you have truly tamed Carvos," Jenna said, "then climb onto his back and command him. If you fail, I will know you are nothing but a liar." Tom looked at the dragon, then back at Jenna. He had never ridden a war dragon before. Sure, he had ridden horses back on Earth, but this was very different. He glanced at Carvos again. The dragon tilted its head, watching him with golden eyes. Was it waiting for him? Tom exhaled. "All right, but if I die, I'm blaming you." A few warriors chuckled, but most still watched with serious expressions. Tom stepped closer to Carvos, studying its body. The auxiliary rode their dragons using thick saddles and metal harnesses, but Carvos had none of that now. He would have to do this the hard way. He patted the dragon's side. "Hey, big guy, mind giving me a lift?" The auxiliary warriors stood in stunned silence. No outsider had ever ridden a war dragon, yet this human had done it as if it were natural. Carvos, their fiercest beast, had not only accepted him, but had listened. Jenna's jaw tightened. This was wrong. She stepped forward, eyes locked onto Tom. "You will explain how you did that," she ordered. Tom dusted off his sleeves, still catching his breath from the flight. "Told you, I just understand animals." Jenna's eyes burned with frustration. War dragons are not just animals. They are warriors, weapons of war. They do not follow commands from the weak. Tom smirked. "Good thing I'm not weak then." The auxiliary warriors muttered among themselves. No human had ever dared to speak so casually to their commander. Jenna inhaled sharply, forcing herself to stay calm. "Fine, then prove it again." She raised her hand, signaling her warriors. From behind her, 3 more war dragons stomped forward, each one bigger than the last. Their auxiliary riders held their chains tightly, their grips firm. The crowd tensed. These were not just any dragons. These were the most difficult, untamed ones in the auxiliary ranks. Even their own riders struggled to control them. Jenna crossed her arms. "If you truly have this ability, then calm them." Tom glanced at the dragons. They were different from Carvos. Their bodies were tense, their golden eyes wild with distrust. They didn't see him as a friend. They saw him as an intruder. One of them, a massive black-scaled beast with crimson horns, snapped its jaws in his direction. The warriors chuckled, expecting the human to back away. But Tom didn't move. Instead, He took a slow step forward, keeping his body relaxed. "Easy, big guy," he murmured. "I'm not here to fight." The warriors watched with interest. Jenna studied his every move. There was no fear in him, no hesitation. Tom observed the dragons closely. Their eyes flickered between rage and confusion. He knew that look. It was fear. These dragons had been trained for battle, forced into control. They had never been spoken to, only ordered around. So instead of commanding them, he waited. He crouched slightly, lowering himself to their level. His hands were open, empty, showing he was not a threat. He let them breathe, let them see him. The black-scaled dragon rumbled deep in its chest, shifting on its feet. The other two creatures watched closely, their tails flicking with uncertainty. One step, then another. Tom's voice was calm, steady. "I get it. You don't trust me yet. That's okay." Jenna frowned. Why was he speaking to them like this? The warriors whispered among themselves. "What is he doing?" one muttered. Then something changed. The black-scaled dragon, the fiercest of the three, took a slow step toward Tom. The warriors gasped. Even its own rider flinched. Tom smiled softly. "There we go." He reached out his hand. The dragon's nostrils flared as it sniffed his palm. Its golden eyes softened, just for a moment. Then, with a low grunt, it lowered its head. The other two dragons followed. The entire training ground fell silent. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. What was she witnessing? Tom gently ran his fingers over the black dragon's snout. "You're not just weapons," he murmured. "You're thinking, feeling creatures. You don't need to be afraid of me." The warriors stared in shock. Their most difficult dragons, the ones who resisted every rider, were listening to a human. Jenna's hands clenched into fists. This was not luck. This was not a trick. This was real. She stepped forward. "What are you?" she demanded. Tom turned to her with a small grin. "Just a guy who likes animals." Jenna's expression darkened. "No, this is something more. I have trained with dragons my whole life. I have fought beside them, controlled them. Yet you..." She glanced at Carvos, who still stood at Tom's side, watching her calmly. "You are different." Tom tilted his head. "Maybe you're just doing it wrong." A dangerous silence filled the air. The warriors stiffened. No one had ever questioned the auxiliary way. Jenna's eyes burned with frustration. "You think we do not understand our own war beasts?" Tom shook his head. "I think you understand how to control them, but you don't understand how to listen to them." Jenna's heart pounded. No one had ever spoken such words to her before. The idea that the Xilari, one of the most powerful warrior races in the galaxy, could be wrong was unthinkable. And yet she could not deny what she had just witnessed. Tom had done something no Xilari had ever done. He had made the dragons trust him. She exhaled slowly, keeping her emotions hidden. "Very well, human. You have my attention." Tom grinned. "Good, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning." Jenna narrowed her eyes. "You may have gained the dragon's trust, but you have not yet earned mine." Jenna stood with her arms crossed, her sharp gaze fixed on Tom. The Xilari warriors around her were still whispering about what they had just witnessed. 3 of the most difficult war dragons had obeyed a human. It was something none of them could explain. Tom, however, looked completely at ease. He gave one last pat to the black-scaled dragon's snout before stepping back. "So do I pass the test, or do I have to juggle fire next?" he asked with a grin. Jenna didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned to her warriors. "Leave us," she ordered. The warriors hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. "Commander," one of them started, but Jenna cut him off with a sharp glare. "I said leave." Without another word, the warriors bowed and retreated, leading their dragons away. The training grounds grew silent, the only sounds coming from the distant winds and the soft breathing of Carvos beside Tom. Now it was just the two of them. Tom tilted his head. All right, this feels serious. Jenna took a slow step forward. You are hiding something, human. Tom raised an eyebrow. Am I? You claim you just understand animals, she said, her voice controlled but tense. But this is not simple understanding. You did not just calm the dragons. You connected with them. That is not normal. Tom shrugged. Maybe your idea of normal is just different from mine. Jenna's jaw tightened. Do not play games with me. Tom sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, I don't have magic powers, if that's what you're thinking. It's just, I learned a long time ago that animals don't respond well to fear. You don't tame them by force. You earn their trust. Jenna studied his face carefully. Where did you learn this? Tom's smile faded slightly. He hesitated before answering. Back home. Jenna narrowed her eyes. There was something in his voice, something distant. He was holding something back. But before she could press further, a loud roar echoed through the air. Both of them turned toward the source of the sound. In the distance, near the cliffs, one of the Xylari dragons was thrashing wildly, its rider struggling to control it. Jenna's eyes widened. That is Volgren. He is one of our strongest war beasts. Tom didn't wait for an explanation. He ran. Jenna hesitated for only a second before following him. As they approached, they saw a group of Xylari warriors trying to contain the massive beast. Volgren's dark red scales gleamed under the sunlight as he flapped his enormous wings, kicking up dust and nearly knocking over his handler. The rider, a young Xylari named Joreth, struggled to hold onto the chains. He is out of control. He will destroy the camp. Jenna quickly moved to help, but before she could reach them, Tom stepped in. Whoa, easy there, big guy, he said, walking directly toward the raging dragon. Joreth's eyes widened. Are you insane? He will kill you. Tom ignored him. He focused only on Volgren. The dragon's golden eyes were wild with panic. Its breathing was fast and unsteady. This wasn't rage. This was fear. Tom slowed his steps. He kept his voice calm. Something's wrong, isn't it? You're not just mad. You're in pain. The dragon let out another roar, but this time, it was different. It was a cry for help. Jenna frowned. How could Tom tell that? Tom moved closer, scanning the dragon's body. Then he spotted it. A sharp metal spike was lodged near Volgren's back leg, hidden beneath his scales. That's it, Tom murmured. He turned to Joreth. He's not out of control. He's hurt. Joreth looked confused. Hurt. But He can't tell you in words, so he's showing you the only way he knows how, Tom said. You need to remove that spike. Jenna stepped forward. That wound is fresh. How did this happen? Joreth hesitated before answering. We were training near the canyon. He must have stepped on something. Tom nodded. Well, standing around isn't helping. Someone get me tools. The warriors looked to Jenna for orders. She hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Do as he says. Within seconds, they brought a medical kit. Tom carefully approached Volgren. The dragon's breathing was heavy, but he didn't lash out. Tom placed a gentle hand on its side. All right, buddy. This is gonna hurt for a second, but I promise you'll feel better after. With careful hands, he removed the spike. Volgren let out a sharp grunt, his muscles tensing. Then, slowly, his body relaxed. The dragon lowered its head, breathing deeply. The warriors stared in disbelief. Jenna exhaled. Unbelievable. Tom patted Volgren's side. See, you're all right now. The dragon huffed softly, almost as if in agreement. The sun hung low over the Xylari camp, casting long shadows across the training grounds. The air was still tense after the unexpected events with Volgren. The warriors had seen something they could not explain. A human, not only calming but understanding their war beasts. Jenna stood at the edge of the training grounds, watching as Tom interacted with Carvos. The great dragon sat patiently, allowing the human to run his hands over its scales, speaking in a low, calm voice. This should not be possible. Jenna prided herself on being one of the greatest Xilari warriors, trained from childhood to command and fight beside dragons. And yet, in a single day, a human had done what no Xilari had ever accomplished. She clenched her fists. I must understand this. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. Human. Tom glanced at her, then smirked. You know, I do have a name. Jenna ignored his comment. Teach me. Tom blinked. Teach you what? She crossed her arms. Your method. Your way of controlling the dragons without force. Tom chuckled. See, that's the problem right there. I'm not controlling them. Jenna frowned. Then what are you doing? Tom patted Carvos on the neck. I'm working with them. I listen to them, and they listen to me. It's not about who's stronger. It's about trust. Jenna narrowed her eyes. Dragons are warriors. They respect strength. Maybe, Tom said, but they also respect kindness. You can't just force them to follow orders and expect loyalty. You have to earn it. Jenna hesitated. This was a strange idea. In Xilari culture, strength determined everything. From the moment a warrior could walk, they were taught that power and dominance were the keys to victory. And yet, Tom had done something no Xilari could. She took a step closer. Show me. Tom studied her for a moment, then shrugged. All right, let's start with something simple. He pointed at a nearby dragon, the golden-scaled female named Vera. Try approaching her. Jenna scoffed. That is easy. She strode toward Vera, her movements firm and commanding. The dragon immediately tensed, her tail flicking in warning. Tom sighed. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. Jenna turned sharply. What do you mean? You're walking like a warrior going into battle, Tom said. To the dragon. That means you're a threat. Jenna frowned. I am her superior. She should respect me. Tom shook his head. Respect isn't the same as fear. He walked past her, approaching Vera with slow, careful steps. His hands were open, his posture relaxed. Hey there, girl, he said softly. No one's here to hurt you. Vera snorted, her eyes watching him closely, but she didn't pull away. Tom stopped a few feet away and crouched slightly, giving the dragon time to adjust. It's okay. I'll wait. For a few long seconds, nothing happened. Then, slowly, Vera lowered her head. Tom smiled. See, she just needed to know she had a choice. Jenna crossed her arms. A choice. Tom nodded. Would you trust someone who only gave you orders and never listened to you? Jenna hesitated. The Xilari way was built on command and obedience. But trust, that was different. She stepped forward again, this time more carefully. What do I do? Tom gestured for her to stand beside him. First, don't make direct eye contact. That can be seen as a challenge. Jenna forced herself to look slightly away. Good. Now hold out your hand, palm open. She hesitated but did as he said. Vera eyed her for a moment, then slowly leaned in, sniffing Jenna's hand. The warrior felt a strange sense of excitement. The dragon was accepting her presence, not because she was its commander, but because she was earning its trust. Vera let out a low rumble, stepping closer. Jenna barely breathed as the dragon's warm breath brushed against her fingers. Then, gently, Vera nudged her hand. Jenna's eyes widened. This was different. Tom grinned. There you go. Not so bad, huh? Jenna looked at him, her usual confidence shaken. This is not what I was taught. Tom shrugged. Maybe what you were taught isn't the only way. Jenna exhaled, turning back to Vera. The dragon's golden eyes shone with curiosity rather than submission. For the first time, Jenna saw the truth. Dragons were not just weapons. They were partners. A slow smile formed on her lips. Perhaps I have much to learn. Tom clapped her on the back. Glad you finally figured that out. Jenna shot him a glare, but this time it was not out of anger. It was something else. Respect. The morning sun painted the auxiliary training grounds in golden light. The air was fresh, carrying the distant roars of dragons as they stretched their wings. Warriors moved through their morning drills, sharpening their blades and preparing for battle. But Jenna was not among them. Instead, she stood near the dragon pens, her eyes fixed on Vera. The golden-scaled dragon rested calmly, her wings tucked at her sides. Jenna hesitated, feeling something unfamiliar, a nervousness she had never known before. Behind her, Tom leaned against a wooden post, arms crossed. You're overthinking it. Jenna turned to him with a sharp glare. I do not overthink. Tom grinned. Right. That's why you've been standing there for the last 10 minutes instead of doing something. Jenna clenched her fists. Why was this so difficult? She had spent years commanding dragons in battle, training them for war. And yet now, with the simple task of earning a dragon's trust, she felt uncertain. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. Vera lifted her head, her golden eyes watching closely. Jenna remembered what Tom had told her before. No sudden movements. No eye contact. Give her a choice. She slowly extended her hand, palm open. Vera's nostrils flared as she sniffed the air. The dragon's gaze was unreadable. Then she did something unexpected. She turned away. Jenna stiffened. Did I fail? Did she reject me? She felt frustration rising, but before she could react, Tom's voice stopped her. Relax. She's not rejecting you. She just doesn't trust you yet. Jenna frowned. What am I supposed to do then? Tom shrugged. Try again. And this time, don't think of it as a test. Just be there. Jenna exhaled. This is foolish. I should not have to prove myself to a beast. And yet she forced herself to try again. She lowered her hand and simply stood still. She did not force the dragon to acknowledge her. She did not demand obedience. She simply waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Then, slowly, Vera turned her head back. She took a cautious step forward. Jenna held her breath as Vera's snout brushed against her fingertips. A strange feeling spread through her chest. Something warm, something unfamiliar. Was this what trust felt like? Tom clapped his hands. Well, would you look at that? The great commander Jenna actually has patience. Jenna shot him a glare, though there was no real anger behind it. Do you ever stop talking? Not really, Tom said with a grin. Before Jenna could respond, a loud horn blast echoed through the air. Both she and Tom snapped to attention. That's the war signal, Jenna said, her expression turning serious. An auxiliary warrior rushed toward them. Commander, a scouting party has returned. They were attacked near the canyon. Jenna immediately moved. Take me to them. Tom followed without question. As they arrived at the main square, they saw a group of injured warriors being treated. One of them, a tall auxiliary with deep scars on his arms, stepped forward. Commander, he said, his voice strained. We were patrolling the canyon when something attacked us. It was not the usual raiders. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Explain. The warrior hesitated. It was something new, a creature we have never seen before. Tom raised an eyebrow. Something new. The warrior nodded. It moved fast, faster than any dragon. It tore through our defenses before we could react. And then it vanished like a shadow in the wind. Jenna exchanged a look with Tom. This was not normal. How many were lost? She asked. The warrior lowered his head. 3 dead, 2 missing. Jenna's jaw tightened. Where did this happen? Near the northern canyon, the warrior said. We barely escaped. Tom crossed his arms. Sounds like trouble. Jenna nodded. Prepare a team. We ride at once. The warriors saluted and ran off to gather the others. Tom glanced at Jenna. "So, what's the plan?" Jenna's expression was hard as steel. "We find out what this creature is, and we stop it before it reaches our camp." Tom smirked. "Well, guess I better saddle up then." Jenna looked at him, her eyes unreadable. Then, to Tom's surprise, she said, "You are coming with me." Tom blinked. "Wait. What?" "You can understand creatures better than anyone," Jenna said. "If this thing is not normal, we need you." Tom scratched his head. "Well, I didn't expect to get dragged into a monster hunt today, but sure, why not?" Jenna turned to the dragon pens. "We leave in 1 hour. Be ready." As she walked away, Tom let out a small chuckle. "Man, I really should have just stayed home." But deep down, he knew the truth. Something big was coming, and he had a feeling this was only the beginning. The sun dipped lower as Jenna, Tom, and a group of Silari warriors rode their dragons toward the northern canyon. The wind howled through the rocky cliffs, carrying with it an eerie silence. It was as if the land itself was holding its breath. Tom sat atop Carvos, gripping the reins tightly. "I don't like this," he muttered. Jenna, flying beside him on Vera, shot him a look. "Fear will not help us." "It's not fear," Tom said. "It's instinct. Something isn't right." The warriors flew in formation, their eyes scanning the rugged landscape below. Scorched earth and shattered rocks marked the place where the scouting party had been attacked. Jenna raised her hand, signaling for the group to land. The moment her boots touched the ground, she felt it, a strange presence in the air. It was not just the emptiness of the canyon. It was something else. Tom dismounted, his eyes scanning the area. "So where's the creature?" Jenna motioned for her warriors to spread out. "We search for tracks. Be cautious." The team moved carefully through the terrain. The air was heavy, charged with something unnatural. Tom knelt near a broken boulder, running his fingers over deep claw marks. "These aren't dragon marks," he murmured. "Something strong did this." Jenna examined the ground. Large, deep footprints were embedded in the dirt. They were unlike anything she had seen before. 3 sharp toes, long and unnatural. "This is no ordinary beast," she said. One of the warriors, a tall Xilari named Drav, called out, "Commander, over here." Jenna and Tom hurried to his side. Drav pointed at a nearby rock wall. Blackened scorch marks ran across it, but not from fire. It looked as if the very stone had been burned away by some kind of energy. Tom narrowed his eyes. "That's not normal." Jenna frowned. "No dragon breath does this." A low growl rumbled through the canyon. Everyone froze. The sound was deep, guttural, something watching them. Tom turned slowly. "Tell me that was one of your guys." Jenna's grip tightened on her weapon. "No." The shadows of the canyon shifted. A dark form moved between the rocks, too fast to track with the eye. Then, suddenly, it attacked. A massive black shape leaped from the shadows, knocking one of the warriors to the ground. The Xilari barely had time to scream before the creature dragged him away. "Form up," Jenna shouted. The warriors moved quickly, weapons drawn, dragons growling in warning. Tom finally got a clear look at the creature as it crouched on a rock above them. It was nothing like a dragon. Sleek black skin, almost like living shadow. Glowing red eyes. Long, razor-sharp claws. It hissed, revealing rows of jagged teeth. Tom swallowed hard. That is definitely not from around here. The creature let out a piercing screech and lunged again. Jenna moved fast, her blade flashing. She slashed at the beast, but it dodged with unnatural speed, twisting in the air before landing several feet away. The warriors attacked, but their weapons barely scratched it. The creature's skin seemed to absorb the blows. Tom grabbed a spear from one of the fallen warriors. "All right, let's see if you like human ingenuity." He hurled the spear with all his strength. It struck the creature in the side. And this time, it reacted. The beast let out a screech of pain, stumbling back. The spear had pierced its flesh, a dark, inky substance leaking from the wound. Tom grinned. "So you're not invincible after all." Jenna wasted no time. "Attack now." The warriors pressed forward, focusing on the wounded side. The creature snarled, swiping wildly. It was fast, but now it was injured, its movements slower, more desperate. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it retreated. With an unnatural leap, it disappeared into the canyon shadows. Silence fell. Tom let out a breath. Well, that was terrifying. Jenna sheathed her blade, her expression grim. This creature is dangerous. Strong, but it can be hurt. Drav stepped forward. "Commander, what do we do?" Jenna looked toward the darkened canyon. "We return to the camp. We must prepare." Tom nodded. "Yeah, because something tells me this isn't over." As they mounted their dragons, flying back toward their home, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that they had just woken something up. Something that was only getting started. The flight back to the HFY camp was tense. The sky had darkened, and the weight of what they had faced in the canyon pressed heavily on everyone's minds. Tom rode in silence, his thoughts racing. What was that thing? It wasn't just a wild beast. It was something else, something unnatural. Jenna, riding ahead, was just as troubled. She had fought countless battles, faced mighty warriors, commanded dragons in war. But this was different. When they landed in the camp, the warriors dismounted quickly. "Report to the healers," Jenna commanded. "Anyone injured must be treated immediately." The HFY warriors nodded and hurried away, but the fear in their eyes remained. Tom stretched his stiff shoulders. "So, what now?" Jenna turned to him, her expression unreadable. "We prepare." Tom raised an eyebrow. "For what?" She glanced toward the horizon, where the canyon lay hidden in the dark. "For war." The camp buzzed with activity. Warriors armed themselves, sharpening blades and reinforcing armor. Dragons were being fed, their saddles adjusted for battle. Tom stood near the dragon pens, watching as Jenna worked tirelessly, giving orders, making sure every warrior was ready. "She doesn't stop, does she?" Tom muttered. A familiar voice answered, "She cannot afford to." Tom turned to see Drav approaching. "The HFY have never faced something like this," Drav said. "If we show weakness, it will consume us." Tom sighed. "I get that. But throwing everything at a monster we don't understand, that's dangerous." Drav nodded. "That is why we must understand it before it returns." Tom frowned. "You think it will come back?" Drav's face darkened. "I know it will." That night, a war council was called. Jenna stood at the center of the great hall, surrounded by HFY leaders. Tom leaned against a pillar, listening carefully. "The creature was fast," Jenna said. "Stronger than any dragon. It took warriors before they could react. But it can be hurt." A warrior slammed his fist on the table. "Then we must strike first. Burn the canyon to ash before it grows stronger." Others murmured in agreement. Tom shook his head. "That's a bad idea." All eyes turned to him. Jenna narrowed her gaze. "Explain." Tom stepped forward. "We don't know what it is, or how many there are. If we attack blindly, we might make things worse. What if it's not alone?" Silence fell over the room. Jenna crossed her arms. "Then what do you suggest, human?" Tom took a breath. "We learn first. Set traps. Track its movements. Find out where it came from and what it wants." A warrior scoffed. "And wait for it to attack again." Tom shrugged. "If we go in unprepared, we're the ones who'll be wiped out." Jenna studied him for a moment, then nodded. "He is right." The warriors were surprised. "We will prepare a defense," Jenna continued. "And we will watch. If the creature returns, we will be ready." The warriors accepted her decision, though some still looked uneasy. As the meeting ended, Tom sighed in relief. That was risky, Drav muttered beside him. Tom smirked. Yeah, well, I'd rather fight smart than die stupid. Late that night, Tom sat outside, staring at the stars. He could hear the dragons breathing nearby, their deep rumbling sounds comforting in the silence. Jenna approached, standing beside him. You are different from other warriors, she said. Tom chuckled. Not a warrior. She tilted her head. Yet you face battle as one. Tom sighed. I just think we shouldn't rush into things we don't understand. Jenna nodded. Caution is wise, but hesitation is weakness. Tom glanced at her. And what if this thing is bigger than we think? What if it's just the beginning? Jenna was silent for a moment. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, Then we fight until the end. Tom looked back at the sky, his mind heavy with thoughts. Because deep down, he had a feeling. The real battle hadn't even begun yet. The night air was thick with tension. The auxiliary warriors stood in formation, their weapons gleaming under the moonlight. Dragons shifted restlessly, their deep growls echoing through the camp. Tom adjusted the straps on Carvos' saddle. So, we're really doing this. Jenna tightened her grip on her blade. Yes, the creature will return. Drav approached. Scouts spotted movement near the canyon. It comes. A hush fell over the warriors. Tom exhaled. All right, let's hope this plan works. The warriors took their positions along the ridges of the canyon. Hidden traps had been set, pits reinforced with sharpened stakes, ropes coated in a sticky resin, and firestones placed carefully around the battlefield. Tom and Jenna stood together, waiting. Then the air shifted. A chilling screech cut through the silence. From the shadows of the canyon, it appeared. The creature was larger than before, its black skin writhing like living shadow. Its red eyes burned with fury, and it was not alone. Two more creatures slinked from the darkness, their forms moving unnaturally fast. Tom cursed under his breath. Great, there's more. Jenna's expression hardened. Then we finish this tonight. The lead creature let out an ear-piercing shriek and charge. Jenna roared, raising her sword. Attack. The auxiliary warriors released their arrows. The dragons took flight, unleashing streams of fire. The battle had begun. Tom guided Carvos into the air, dodging as one of the creatures leaped at him. It landed on a nearby ledge, snarling. Let's see if this works, Tom muttered. He pulled a small firestone from his belt and hurled it toward the creature. The moment it struck, it exploded into flames. The creature screeched in pain, thrashing wildly. Tom whooped. Fireworks. Jenna, hearing him, called out to the warriors. Use the firestones. More warriors threw them, setting the battlefield ablaze. The creatures howled, their dark skin bubbling under the heat. But they were not done yet. The largest one, the first they had encountered, leaped into the air, heading straight for Jenna. She barely dodged in time, rolling across the dirt as the creature's claws slashed through the space she had just occupied. Tom dove down. Jenna. She gritted her teeth. I can handle it. She lunged forward, slashing at the creature's wounded side. Her blade sank deep, and the creature let out a terrible shriek. Tom, seeing an opening, acted. He urged Carvos forward, gripping another firestone. He took a deep breath and jumped, leaping from Carvos' saddle onto the creature's back. Jenna's eyes widened. Tom, what are you doing? Something stupid, he yelled. The creature thrashed, but Tom held on. With all his strength, he slammed the firestone against its neck. The explosion sent him flying, but Carvos swooped in, catching him before he hit the ground. The creature staggered, flames consuming its body. With one last, agonized cry, it collapsed. The other two creatures, seeing their leader fall, turned and fled. The battle was over. Silence settled over the battlefield. The warriors stood victorious, breathing heavily. Jenna approached Tom, who was still sitting on Carvos. "You are reckless," she said. Tom grinned. "Yeah, but it worked, didn't it?" She shook her head, but a small smile touched her lips. Trav stepped forward. "The creatures are gone. The Xilari are safe." A cheer erupted from the warriors. Tom looked at the burning remains of the creature. "What do you think it was?" Jenna's expression grew serious. "Something old. Something dangerous." Tom nodded. "And if there are more?" Jenna's eyes met his. "Then we will be ready." Tom exhaled, then chuckled. "You know, I never expected to be fighting monsters when I got here." Jenna smirked. "And I never expected a human to tame a dragon." Tom grinned. "Guess we both learned something." As the warriors celebrated, the night sky stretched above them. Peaceful, for now. But deep in the distant shadows, something watched. And the battle for survival was far from over. The end, for now.